Hello, hello. Welcome to Coffee Chat with Angie, episode number 17, where we talk about eco-friendly ideas fighting against the shit stem of the bully dozer. Okay, hi, how you doing? The library, episode 3. Episode 3 about Genesis chapter 3. And, So, one day after a plane crashes into the ocean, and I land on an island, stranded, straight from Kaifa Beach, as I called it, hidden near a palm tree by some sailor of the past. I find a small suitcase, a time capsule. It had few things inside, each of which I cherished, including a King James Version Bible, which I called the library. Stranded on the island, the library became my entertainment, my TV, and my friend. Okay, Genesis chapter 3. Where were we? Oh, yes. That some people today can be so contentious that they fail to notice that when the creation story mentions the different places in the Garden of Eden, the names or places we don't know. The scholars probably do. I would if I looked into it, but I find it odd that only 2 of the places mean anything to you and I. Ethiopia, in the King James Version, some translations say Cush. Cush is the ancestor of the Ethiopians, by the way. Cush is mentioned in the Bible's table of generations of Genesis chapter 10. Cush is the son of Ham. Ham was Noah's darkest-skinned son. This is why the 3,000-year-old dynasty, This is why the 3,000-year-old dynasty with the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie I, the royal family are from Judah, related to Mother Mary, therefore are also related to a descendant of Noah's other son Shem, where the word Semitic comes from, Jewish. But the original name of, besides Kemet, was Mizraim, meaning 2 red mudlands. Anyway, some Bibles say Cush there in Genesis chapter 2 instead of Ethiopia, but like I was saying, I find it odd that people never notice or care it says Ethiopia. I mean, come on. Ethiopia is where science says humans come from. So both the Bible and science say we came from Ethiopia, but people still argue over it all? Don't you think that's weird? Oh, and it almost forgets to mention Assyria. It mentions Assyria. It says if you go east, you'll eventually get to Assyria. Okay, Genesis chapter 3. So, the takeaways from chapters 1 and chapter 2 of Genesis, like from an outside story. Number 1, the tetragrammaton is within and is connected to the creative force that has forever created things. Number 2, that to keep in focus with what we as individuals and family are trying to do in this life, we need to take a moment to connect with nature and once a week, the Sabbath, right? Number 7, later, is the ultimate meditation of the days of unleavened bread, a week-long celebration meditation where the Yansui ponder all 7 numbers. Number 3, Through the power of word, we can promise ourselves to our lover, called marriage. So they get married before inventing sex, which they haven't done yet. Spoiler alert, they will invent it soon. Number 4, that we are to be vegetarian, that we should love the plants, especially marijuana, but from within we can, but now from within we can feel wrong about something. In other words, Yahweh Elohim can give commandments. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Dot. It's taboo. Like the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. See my video on number 11. Dot. D-A-A-T-H. Peter Pan's shadow. It's all within, kiddos. Number 5. The Bible is not a book of science, nor do we need it to be. The Bible's creation story, Genesis chapter 1 through 3, are 2 myths glued together by priests. The kingdom of the north, including Levi and the priests of Shiloh, and the myth of the kingdom of the south, Judah down into Ethiopia. He rolls it all up together like a big old spleef. The north's god's name is the storm god Yahweh, and the south's is Elohim, coming from the Canaanite El. And this happens all through the Old Testament. 2 deities into one, at least, I think. I don't know. And it all tempers into that Elohim is the plural for the word God in Hebrew, for the Trinity, which the Yan Sui say are the supernals, and why the 4th letter of the Tetragrammaton is a repeat of the 2nd. So Elohim means today God, and God's name is Yahweh. See? Very creative, aren't they? I mean, the 2nd or 3rd author. It's weird people take this myth so seriously. I mean, it's the strangest story in the whole Bible. Creates the earth and sun, a talking snake, the invention of clothes and marriage. Cuckoo. To me, it's obvious. To me, it's obvious. It's because it's another creation myth, taken from 2 creation myths, but today is one, and ancient nonetheless. Obvious that it's a bunch of symbols and the name of a god, and one must define them for these symbols for oneself before moving on to the next story, chapter 4. Then we can take it from there. Simple. No need to so arrogantly and full of such pride say you know better than science. I mean, come on. It's about the symbols, not how to pattern your life. The flaming sword protects the way. Hello? Secret, gnosis, wisdom, Sophia. Who are you? Who? I really want to know who are you? Sing it, everybody. Okay, then the last few verses mention Adam and Eve get married to each other instead of their parents in the nude. They're not embarrassed to be naked because they haven't invented sex yet. They have been given a commandment from the Tetragrammaton to not eat a certain tree. In other words, that they shouldn't know the shadow side of the symbols. Dot. Dot is Hebrew for knowledge, the dark side of the force. Don't do it. Peter Pan. The first 3 chapters of Genesis are unlike the rest of the Bible. They explain the situation, introduce the God, and the symbols for tools, prayer, Sabbath, and marriage and sex, but it's more. It's food, language, and the question of right from wrong, pleasing Yahweh or experiencing the consequences. 1 is it a commandment to get married? Like, do you have to get married? Or go to, someone that believes in hell or go to hell. I don't believe in hell. But, Number two, is it only a man and a woman in marriage? Or can it be a gay marriage? What does it say so far, And if it is, because it's always rooted into this. It's like Adam and Eve. Well, but it didn't, they just happened to be a man and a woman, as far as I can tell. And if it is only a man and a woman, does that mean snakes can really talk? Or are they symbols? Okay, so I think we have gone over the symbols good enough in my videos on Genesis chapter 1, which has 3 parts, and Genesis chapter 2, the previous video, and now this video up this video up to now. By the way, it's like I'm about ready to go to bed. It's like late at night, but I just keep thinking about it. I'm excited because I think I like the Bible. Now I think I can just read the actual Bible. Genesis chapter 3, King James Version. King, so medieval, okay? All right. So I'll grab my trusty old King James Version Bible. It has been a good friend. True. Chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Right? More what? More subtle. That's true. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat every tree of the garden? Josh said, eat the damn trees. Let's go. Let's swing on some trees and eat some leaves, man. Number 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Right? So like, if you're just reading the book, it's like, or it'll kill you, like it's poisonous, but a lot of people, because they haven't, the official fall hasn't happened yet, so I believe that, like, a lot of Christians believe that nothing dies yet, none of the animals, you just live forever. Death hasn't happened yet because the fall hasn't happened yet, so that's kind of weird, right? You'll die, like it's poisonous. I don't know. Well, we'll see. Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good from evil. Right? The knowledge of good and evil. And when the woman saw the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Okay? See? So I just read it straight through. Usually there's everybody in the whole world gives commentary right there big time, But really, so that was the whole event right there. The big famous event. Probably the most famous event in the whole Bible, maybe, besides Jesus dying on the cross. And the Noah's flood. Everybody knows that. The Tower of Babel. And that's probably about it, right? Verse 7. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Right? Okay, so that last section from and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, all the way to the part for, and they got fig leaves together and made aprons. That section here in this Schofield Study Bible, it calls it the temptation of Eve, the fall. So that's the official fall right there, was that they ate the fruit, and then the first thing that happened was they made fig leaves. They noticed that they were naked and they made fig leaves. But if you think about it, like they ate. I mean, anybody that's how anybody that's like, it's not everybody, but like if you've ever had sex while you're stoned, it can really be a good thing. It enhances sex. That's what they call it. It really can enhance sex, man. But um so they ate they ate the fruit. And so, like, a good psychedelic, I mean, if you are a fan of me and you've listened to my stuff, the psychedelic trips I went on as a senior in high school is what started all my questions about whether God exists and all these questions. I didn't care about any of these things at all before that. It just showed me a different perspective, and I just branched off with all these questions, and just saw things differently in a crazy way for me. um, so and then, like, with peyote, I did a peyote ceremony. And like, just if you study history, psychedelic mushrooms, cannabis. The truth is that it's weird that, like I grew up in a Mormon family, and the sacrament's bread and water. It's not even psychoactive. I mean, Mormons have to be the first people in human history whose sacrament isn't psychoactive. Catholics, it's wine. Like, sacraments are usually things you eat or smoke or drink, or you partake of, that has some kind of psychoactive effect after you do it. And many of those psychoactive effects do really enhance sexuality, man. So I think it was like they got a good buzz. They looked at each other and they're like, oh, hey, they noticed that they were different in that type of a way, and so then they got ashamed and they put fig leaves on. Peyote, by the way, was in Africa. I don't know if you can say nope, it is today, but it wasn't back then, or I don't know, but I know that there is a history with a little bit. It's not the most famous thing, but anyway. So now then they fig the leaves together, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. So they went up in the trees where they're thicker and that they could hide, like one would do. And because the Lord gave that commandment, remember? Like we're saying, that's one of the things that's been accomplished in the story. The Lord said, oh, by the way, and don't eat this fruit, gave a commandment. So now that's why it was a fall, because it was the first sin, the original sin, like people say. But like I've already gone over in these videos, is that the word sin isn't actually in any of these texts. That's a Christian. The Christians have put that meaning into and that's something we've added to it because we're Christian, but it's not at all what the authors and the if this is true, even if it was all written by Moses, and like it's because it's one of the books of Moses, which it really isn't. Do the stories come from Moses? Well, I imagine everything's pretty true in a lot of ways, but it doesn't need to be these things. I've already gone over that plenty. So now, oh yeah, so the word that we're saying for it, it doesn't say sin. It's like, have I said the word sin yet? No, it really isn't part of the story. But the word that might be based on, according to people that know Hebrew better than me, it doesn't actually mean sin. It means to be like demoted, you know, like from a higher job to a lower job, you know, disappointed and demoted, you know, disappointed and therefore demoted, more of that kind of a thing, you know. So but isn't that's like there's all this discussion over this, but parents do this with their children, you know. I know I raised a baby boy. You do it with kids. You know what they're gonna do, you know, and don't eat those jelly donuts, and you're kind of testing them, you know. And you come back and they have, you know, the all over their mouth. You can tell they ate the donuts. The donuts are gone. You're all, why are the donuts gone? And they're all, huh? You know, they act surprised. That whole thing, you know. That's kind of really what this story is, you know. And they're innocent like children too. It's not kind of. It's like exactly what this is. It's that story, you know. And the Lord, verse 9, and the Lord God called unto Adam, you know, like what does the parent do? Okay, you're grounded all week from donuts. I want to eat the donuts. You know, they've been demoted from donut eater to non-donut eater for the next 7 days. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? You know, sometimes a parent, you can tell. You can tell by the words that they're using, like you can tell where they got it from, you know. If maybe it's a show that says that or something, but sometimes you can't tell and you guess wrong. Is the Lord guessing right or wrong here? People say, well, it's the Lord. The Lord's always correct. It's, you know me. I don't do the whole man in the sky, the same today, yesterday, and forever, and some of these things. Wherefore I command thee that thou shouldest not eat. You know, like, you know, who told you that you were naked? I know who told you, that bad boy around the corner that you've been hanging out with lately. You know, that's what you're thinking as a parent, right? But really, you know, like I was saying, maybe they just got a good buzz and they're like, oh, they're all naked together. Hello. I could have had a V8. And the man said, the woman whom thou givest to me, verse 12, she gave me of the tree and I did eat. So he blames the woman. And that's not a small thing, because these stories, whether they're true or not, and holy cow, hello, they're not true. But it's nonetheless, it's an ancient story that everybody's believed until just recently, kind of, you know, or it's huge. It's been in the mind of all of our reincarnations, our past lives. We've looked at this like it's a book of science and past lives for sure. And I mean, it's heavy, you know what I mean? It's what we've believed, and it's what we've imagined and told our kids we believe and that they should believe, and all this stuff, you know. And it's a cool story, you know, and it's different than the rest of the Bible, but it's necessary because it sets up the symbols, like I've been saying, you know. So you know what? So the Lord's all, hast thou eaten of the tree thereof? Because it seems like he's not thinking of, he's not, because the story is saying that they looked at each other and got horny for the first time, you know. But then this, to be blunt, and then this is like, it doesn't seem like the parents thinking of that possibility. And the man said, the woman whom thou givest to me to be with me, she gave it to me. And he blames the woman. Mary said that. And the God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So then she blames the serpent, you know, a talking snake. She blames the talking snake. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast. But again, if this was a psychedelic experience, like I was saying, peyote was around, you know, snakes don't have vocal cords, you know, it wasn't a talking snake. But And we just don't have any reason to believe that there's ever been a talking snake, really, you know. But some would say dragons talk. Did one of the dinosaurs talk? I don't know. But uh, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, and so by the way, like the Bible scholar Dan McClone's always saying, like the serpent in here, it was never intended to be the Satan, and Satan, what Satan means, and all that, it's just the accuser and the the bad guy, basically, so so the serpent's the bad guy. That's, by the way, my first tattoo. This tattoo, it's a serpent right there. It's because my first friend when I moved to Utah was my sister's snake, and I looked at the snake and I really loved this snake. And its name was Marley, by the way. It was before I even knew what a Rasta was. And I decided, since the world's demonized snakes, I'm going to carry that burden together with that snake and tattoo a snake. And then it carried over a theme. Now I've got there's a number of reptile things going on, because it's like, oh no, snakes never did. What, this is a talking snake? No, snakes don't deserve to be demonized out of all this. So the Lord said to the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle. And yep, that's the time that you don't say cursed, you say cursed. Thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust thou shalt eat all the days of thy life. Like unto dust thou will go. It's like, wow, it sure sounds like this was a dusty place. All this dust, but it's like dust in the wind, man. Like the breath of life mixed with substance. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So it's famous, right? That's why I'm reading it direct, because we've already heard the story, but have you actually read it? Or do you know what it actually literally says? Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I command thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. Cursed is the ground. So I remember I've heard Bible scholars recently, a Bible scholar somewhere, talk about how curses can be the ground, and sometimes a curse can be on the family, and then the actual ground that they live on gets cursed, that same curse. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb. See, so we've all heard, like our grandparents and people, we've heard them all say, we've all heard grandparents, say that, teach that same thing. Oh yeah, I'm like reading over. What was it? Yeah, just like the idea that it's not, like that. It's anytime when it comes to this myth, since it's so heavy and deep. Anytime it blames something in life, because there's the earth, everything's created and everything's perfect because God created it. Really, that just means, like what we learn with metaphysics, that just means that in the pure thoughts of like the ideas, that create the moment, because things are created out of our thoughts first. You think, I'm going to make a peanut butter sandwich, then you make a peanut butter sandwich. It was the thought first, And sometimes when you imagine eating that peanut butter sandwich that you're going to be making that you haven't even made yet, in the end, it didn't even taste as good as you thought it was going to be, because it's that purity of that thought, because things are created out of our thoughts. God's not the same today, yesterday, and forever. Nothing about the Bible was floating in the Bible was not floating in outer space before the sun existed. To be blunt. But so everything's created, and then there's the fall, because God said not to do something and they did it. No matter, don't jump up and down 3 times, and they jumped up and down 3 times. Maybe it didn't matter what it was or what kind of food it was. It was psychedelic, Maybe that's why he called it the knowledge of good and evil, because it had us all as a fruit that had a message that was deep and heavy. And they did that, and whoa, it made them horny at first, so they invented clothes. And then God said, why did you invent clothes? And the whole world was different now. Now everything would die when it got old enough, I don't know. Maybe some insects died that day. Some insects only lived at like 1 day. I don't know, but like, so what I'm saying is, like, all this, grandparents teach their kids and taught their kids, and then blah blah blah, all that, to blame all these things on this moment because this happened, and really on the woman, even though the man did it too, So, verse 20, and Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. So far she's always been called woman, so now she's not called woman anymore. Did it say the word wife? I don't know. I'll have to go back and notice. This verse uses the word wife and Eve, I think, for the first time. Both those words. Interesting. Number 21. Unto Adam also and unto his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them. So then God said, well, you're going to need to wear more than underwear, y'all. And made them clothes. Like, yeah, true. Adam and Eve invented underwear. And then God said, well, you should wear even more than that, actually. We call these clothes. You put it over your underwear. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So I went over on the previous video when I was paraphrasing from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary about that. A lot of that was based on that part. Verse 23. Okay, we're on the last 2 verses. Therefore God, the Lord God, sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. See, so now, and they have to work hard. That's why they have to work hard. Why do I have to go to work every day? It's because Eve listened to that damn talking snake, and then I had to listen to her. The man had to listen to her. Everything's her fault. Everything's that damn snake's fault. Talking snake. Boy, if I ever see a talking snake, I tell you. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and the flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Right? And then, of course, in Revelations chapter 22, verse 2, we realize, and that's how the story ends. That's the last chapter of the Bible. The tree of life can be cannabis, because you can get it year-round. When some symbols, especially the symbols that belong to the apocrypha genre, those ones have a gazillion. Like, everybody has their own little interpretation. It's just all so messy, really. So that the ending of this, the only thing to say now, the ending of this, the cherubims, the flaming sword, secret wisdom, gnosis. The purpose of life is to know thyself. Worship the gods if you must, but first know thyself. It's the inner work that one must do, and the reason we meditate and learn to transcend ego, so we can strip it down to how it really is, and keep it in focus, and try to keep in focus with what really is, so there's not wasted energy, and secret wisdom as in like the occult, which means hidden. So like, the Kabbalah and things like that, and such and such and that, Okay, Genesis chapter 3. So now Genesis chapter 4, you'll notice a big difference. Now it's like a story, and it's more like the Bible you're used to. So far, I mean, that was a pretty... The videos probably should be shorter. It's just it's just heavy symbols and tons of them, and it's coming at you from every angle, taking on all the big questions, and it's intense, wasn't it? Hope you enjoyed the ride.